Hello. My mic's in a weird spot, hang on. I have to move it, because I'm not at my normal spot usually. So please let me know if I'm quiet. Let me move this to the right. I actually have to click today. Hello. Alright, it's over here. Move that. Hello. This is my hands. We're working with our hands today. I'm making tiny wizard hats. Probably just one hat. I've made one already with this pattern, so I know what I'm doing a little bit. That's a strong word, actually. I don't know what I'm doing. As you can see, my stitches are pretty messy on this one. I'm kind of still getting practice on doing it. And I think this is actually too big for this doll. I need to learn how to resize things. This is meant for a ball-jointed doll. But I do at some point want to make one for this doll as well. Because they're my pretty monster high size Ambrosia doll. I need to fix a few things on this one. I'm not sure if it was just the delivery or just something missed on the wings, but they're a little funky. The hair is perfect, almost. It doesn't have any black in it, but that's fine. Everything else is fine. But I'll just move them out of the way. But yeah, like they made a paper mache hat for that doll, which is actually very accurate. 10 out of 10 to them. They got all the details right. Minus the bow in the back, but everyone forgets the bow in the back. But they got the folds right, which is what delights me the most. So eventually I want to make a properly sized hat for them, but for now, that's good enough. But yeah, I didn't cut any fabric for this, so I have to do that first. I actually have to pick the fabric too. I have a lot of fabric now. I'm slowly hoarding it. Let's see. I also have a couple other patterns, but I wanted to make a wizard hat. I think I need to, oh dear, I need to tape this down. It keeps sliding. Where's my tape? My blue tape. Hi, sis. If you want to hop on today, sis, you are welcome to. I'm just going to be sewing. Stop moving. I was a little late because I was trying to fix, one of the drawers on my desk is really funky and doesn't open correctly when it's pushed all the way in. So I had to put a stopper in it so that I can open and close it easily still. It's kind of whack. Let's see, I think there's the new fabric. As I've been saying, I'm collecting all the supplies for my personal gift to myself, which is a ball jointed doll that I'm going to customize. So I've got stuff like yarn for hair, chalk pastels, all sorts of things. But I also want to actually make the clothes, and that requires sewing, and I am not good at sewing. I am still learning. But let's see. I didn't get a chance to look at these. I saw the pattern on them, and I was like, oh my god. I want that. Let's see. Oh, that's a fun fabric. They're so pretty. It's sparkly. The sparkles are gonna get everywhere. I don't mind. Let's see. I wanted to use this for a shirt, actually. I don't think there's enough for a shirt and a hat. Or maybe there is. There's more here than I thought. Should probably show the pattern pieces. I got these patterns off of Etsy. I don't know if anyone here actually does doll making. If they do, I can link anything I'm using. That isn't necessary. here's the shirt pattern. And here's the hat pattern. And I'm fairly certain. Okay. Yeah, there's not enough for a hat and a shirt. That's sad. This is like perfect, like eccentric wizard fabric for a top for a ball jointed doll. So I was like, oh, I gotta get that. Hi, Daishima. I'm not making voodoo dolls. Okay, so not that. This is also for either pants or a shirt. I have more fabric. I have a lot of fabric. I have a problem. I have a hoarding problem. Elrissa, you're aware of my hoarding problem when it comes to craft supplies. I have a lot. It's only gotten worse. I keep trying to contain it into one room. These are for shirts. That's for wig caps. I don't think any of these would be good for a hat. Oh, I do want this lace. I think this is the same lace I used on this, which was perfect. It turned out exactly how I wanted it to. That's for my cape. I'm sure there's more scraps in here that I can't see. What the hell is this? Huh. That's a big scrap of black fabric. That'd be perfect. It's not shaped like anything. Oh my god, I have like 3 different kinds of rainbow ribbon. I've got pastel, I've got stereotypical, and then I have somewhere in here ombre. Where is it? There it is. I got a lot of that. I'm prepared for June every year. They always sell out of the rainbow ribbon. Okay, that's all that's in here. And then I think I just have shitty fabric in this bag still. And then my newer stuff. Yeah, okay. I think I'm gonna do black for the top part. Oh my god, Mia, I hate you. Please don't mind the fact that there's fur all over it. Mia lays on any bag she can find. Oh, these are so good. I should have grabbed 2 of these. Yeah, it doesn't help that, like, my interests for crafting ideas change every couple months, so I'm just like, now I have to get something new. I'm glad sewing's sticking around, though, because I did enjoy sewing when I was younger, and frankly, I haven't gotten enough of it. Oh, this was the mushroom hat I made. It's a little funky, but it does look like one of those big mushroom hats that people make for, like, Ren fairs. I need to press this, too. I'm not taking you guys into the other room. If any person here actually knows how to, like, sew and, like, cut fabric, look away. Look away. You're not gonna enjoy what's happening here. I am amateur at best. But I'm having fun, and that's all that matters. And oh, camera fell. I guess I gotta secure that a little bit better. Nothing good old blue tape can't do. Funnest band, get out of here. Get out of here, Daishiba. Okay, if that doesn't secure it, I don't know what will. Let me move this back. Up a little. Come on. You know what? Good enough. Is that enough there? No. All of my techniques are bad. The only good ones I have come from other people, and I haven't learned them correctly yet. I need to... where did I put it? I think this is flammable. So I think I need to press this before I use this. It's got a big danger. Don't put in ice. Danger. Don't put near heat. Come on. Open up. That's enough. Yeah, I think I have to press these before I do anything with this. Just because there's so many folds in here. Thankfully, that my little whatchamacallit doesn't take long to heat up. And it should have water in it still. I keep these for testing paint on. Oh my lord. Mia, why? Mia, why? Oh my gosh. Should I paint this one? I'm not sure how to decorate this one. I just wanted to make another tiny hat. They're addicting. Like, the first thing I tried to make was a tiny shirt, and that failed spectacularly, so I was like, okay, let's try to make the tiny hat. And then this turned out fantastic, even with my mistakes. And now I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to make a million of these. Sorry, I have to concentrate. I don't want to cut my pattern. I've cut a couple of them already by accident. I've tried to... I have these, like, chalk pencils. Where'd they go? Where did I put them? But, like, they don't write well on any of the fabrics that I've gotten. This is, like, basic cotton, so I don't know why the fuck they ain't writing on here. I don't understand. Okay, that was so much better. I didn't have this tinier little cutter when I was doing this hat, and I cut the circle out by hand with an X-Acto knife. Don't do that. It takes way too long. But it worked. It worked, and that's all that matters here. Alright. I should clean that up. It's all practice. That's all this is. That should be good enough. And falls the other. Oh, this is so pretty. I can't decide if I want this on the outside or the inside. If I do it on the outside, like, painting is gonna cover it up a little bit though. But if I do it on the inside, you're just not gonna see it. What a dilemma. It just works. I know we all make fun of Mr. Todd Coward for that wonderful, wonderful quote, but sometimes when I'm like being super perfectionist and my brain is telling me, no, you gotta do better than that, sometimes I literally just repeat that in my mind a couple times, and then my brain's just like, you know what, fair, valid, I'll stop harping on you for it. It's the dumbest thing, but it just works. Well, why am I cutting the circle on here? That's dumb. Oh well. I hate having all the tiny scraps, but I am not good at cutting, really, just yet. So until I get better, I'm going to have a lot of tiny scraps and a lot of shit like this. Cut, cut, cut. There we go. Yeah, that should be good enough. Okay, I'm gonna go turn on my little mini iron. Cause yeah, all these folds will be super annoying while sewing, as I have learned from my mistakes. I pressed that before I painted it, and after I had sewed it all together, and it was god-awful. Under no uncertain terms. Very god-awful. It will only be but a moment. Please enjoy this tiny wizard hat while I disappear into the ether. Well, that's heating up. You can see my disaster of first try of making a shirt. So this is on scrap fabric, that's why all the lines are in black as well, just to see what I'm doing wrong. The sleeve is so long. This is the doll size that it's supposed to be on. This is the pattern. The pattern comes like this. Bro, that's an inch longer than it needs to be. Oh, no. The doll stand I have is too tall, too. Because it was advertised incorrectly on Amazon. It looks bad. It looks so bad. And then also, so there's elastic in here. I don't know how to hand sew elastic correctly. It is not correct. But you can see kind of like just messy stitches. These are all running stitches, not back stitches like they should be. And all that. Everything's in the right place at least, though. This is my second try at a shirt. Don't mind the thing I have stuck through it right now. It's much neater, except for some mistakes I made here, but I'm working on adding buttons. Okay, I think it's heated up. Hi, Annabelle. Okay. Look at that. Perfectly flat. I dropped a sleeve. I didn't even finish the second try at a shirt, because sleeves are too bad. But that's okay. I keep it as a reminder. You can see though, like, look how long that is. In comparison, this is about 2/3 of that. And that's about right. This one's not gonna have elastic in it. Okay. Next, I need... Do I have a spare piece of paper? That's got notes. That's just gotta do both. I'm going to put some fray check on the edges so that They do not fray. That's going to take about 30 minutes to set, and while it's setting, I'm going to work on that. This stuff is... I think it's kind of like an adhesive, probably. It stops the edges of fabric fraying without being super bulky or getting in the way or anything. I was testing it earlier on the shirt and it looked like it worked really well. Because I have a lot of frayed edges on the shirt. Gross. I don't know where to put this to dry. Uh-oh. Oopsie. Don't know if the scraps. Like, you can see already on the black fabric, this stuff frays super easily. But this will stop it. Forever. Probably not forever, but long enough. Everything I'm doing is a lesson learned. I was like, I don't need anything to stop the fraying. It'll be fine. Everything is falling apart as I'm attempting to sew it. I can do everything with running stitches. I don't need to learn how to backstitch. Everything falls apart as I am attempting to sew it. I kind of want to try to make a tiny mannequin for doll-sized clothes. Obviously I'm still an amateur at literally everything I'm doing, but there's a technique called draping, where instead of like just cutting out specific pattern pieces, you drape the fabric and trim it down to what you want it to be, to sort of make your own stuff like folds and darts and stuff like that. It's like a different way of like making patterns, I guess. I don't really know how pattern making works. I'm assuming everything gets draped at some point or another. But I don't know how to do that. And I have to be careful because I only have one ball jointed doll right now, and I do not want to do anything to ruin them. I'm pretty sure the doll that I have coming is going to be around, if not the exact same size as the one I currently have. But there's that to consider too, that the sizing is going to be off. I have seen somebody on YouTube, not for ball jointed dolls, but for a specific brand of dolls called Smart Dolls. They wrapped it in plastic wrap and then casted it in this like spongy material that they then later wrapped with fabric to make their own mannequin for Smart Doll clothes, and I was just so amazed by that. I'm like, I want to do that. How do I want to do that? Make a tutorial on that. But also, I don't know if I'm going to be making like a bazillion different pieces of clothing, or if I'm just going to have the inspiration die once I finish with the initial stuff. I'm assuming not, because like, I've made one tiny wizard hat already, and it's perfect, and it's amazing, and now I want to make 1,000,000. So who knows? We'll see. the paper I'm doing this on, I think it is a type of cardstock, I don't know. But a while back, a family member like was working at a print shop and they had like a bunch of misprints on something. So on the back of all of these there's just like a little section at the bottom that's like a footnote. But they're like, hey, we fucked up a bunch of these. Do you want this like huge stack of paper that's like thick paper to draw? And I'm like, hell yeah. I love free paper. I missed a spot. I still have a ton of it because I prefer working in sketchbooks typically instead of loose paper. But it's great to use a scrap paper for things. I should make a tiny book on stream too. Oh my gosh. I saw how you can make tiny doll-sized books, a tutorial on it recently, and I was like, oh, I want to make tiny books now too. Oh no. Oh no, I want to make all the things. All the tiny things. I need to make like a list of like crafts I want to try. So I've tried resin making. Of course, I fucking love that. You guys have seen me do it on stream. But there's also soap making and candle making. And I've done something similar to candle making. I was really young. But I think it was a technique that was like semi like one of those fad things at the time where people took a bunch of old crayons and melted them down into a new candle because crayons are made out of wax. And I remember that being a thing for a bit there, and that was a lot of fun. I've never done soap making at all, I don't think. That's not something I remember doing. I don't take baths, otherwise I would do a bath bomb as well. I would try that out. What else is there? I want to try wood carving. I want to try... I don't even know how you would get into it, but chiseling something down seems like a lot of fun. Not wood, but like something stone. Hi Philip! Welcome to Sewing with me. I'm shaking wizard hat pieces. I don't know why. Something in me tells me it's wet with Ray check, so my brain is just like, oh, it's wet, shake it off. But that's gonna take about 30 minutes. Where's my phone? All the way over here. Let's go ahead and put a timer. Oh dear, you're dying. Let me plug you in. My desk is covered with things right now. Because I had to get a light. There wasn't enough light on my desk. So that takes up a bunch of room and all my normal stuff. We need 30 minutes. Okay. And now, back to this. I was trying to make buttonholes on this. I'm pretty sure I'm doing this wrong. But I can't just, like, take a button knife and stab the fabric because this is doll size. So I'm widening a hole in the fabric with I don't even know what this is. I think it's for weeding. It's for my Cricut. I think it's for weeding like pieces of vinyl out or something. But I'm using this to like get a little bit of a hole in there, and then I cut it a little bit with an X-Acto knife. Just a little bit. But my buttonholes have been getting progressively worse. You can't see it very well. This is the first one, and there's one here, one here, one here, and this is the last that I have to do. It's really quiet? Okay. Okay, that's not working. I'm a little bit farther away from my mic right now. I'm not sure what to do other than turn myself to speak into the mic, which feels weird, but I will do it for the sake of a good stream. I also moved this, I think. There we go. But yeah, basically I have to take my needle and thread and repeatedly sew around this hole. There's my thread. Where did my... No? Aha! Which one of you fuckers was I working with? Why is that on that side? No. Go in your spot. Don't ask why I've organized my pens. I don't want to talk about it. Things need to be in color order, alright? I can't explain it. I need to get more, actually. I don't have a whole lot. With, doll-sized things, you don't need that many pins, but I would like to make full-size things at some point. That should be enough. Don't ask why I have 4 pairs of scissors, by the way. They're all for different things, but my thread scissors don't work very well for some reason with thread. These are my thread scissors. They're so tiny and cute, and I love them, but they always fray my thread whenever I try to cut with them. I'm going to turn... I can't turn that. That's annoying. I can turn that. Also, fuck people who can't thread needles correctly. I can do it just about perfectly every time. Can I scrape the lowest of mics? I don't understand what you're saying, Philip. Well, I just realized I don't have my music volume on. There we go. I would say also with my volume, I'm always going to be pretty quiet. I have a pretty quiet voice. It's best to compare me against my own audio, which is why I usually have music in the background. Of some sort. If I'm quiet, like if you can't hear me over that, then I would say, yeah, I need to speak up more, but, judging by my OBS levels, I'm speaking about as loudly as I normally do. I know OBS levels aren't perfect, but they do well enough for my voice. Okay. Here, I'll turn this since I'll be over here closer to my mic. I didn't cut that, did I? No. This is always so nerve-wracking. No, that's... No. Philip, the quality is so bad. The quality is so bad. I have an actual mic, that's what I'm using. The problem is my mic arm stand is locked between my 2 monitors, and I'm off to the side. I'm not fully set up for my crafting setup yet. I'm still figuring out what I need to do in this new place. No, it needs to be a little more. It's just with the fact that I have a mic already, it is not worth the drop in quality. And it's not like I'm not gonna sound any better or louder. The only earbud mics that I have are, like, the microphone on them is just garbage. I literally got them so I could take calls while walking, and they're so bad, I can't even do that. I am literally, you cannot understand me with them. And I've, like, learned how to enunciate words better and stuff, too. It's not me, it's the mic. It's not bad. And they aren't cheap ones either, they're decent. Sorry, I'm trying to stay on camera, but it's already very difficult to see what the hell I'm doing here. Which is probably wrong. Probably very, very wrong. Maybe if I... Be kind to me, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall again, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. Pretty pleased with the cherry on top. Thank you. Freaking Mia hairs. There is no escape from the Mia. Isn't that right? Are you in here right now? No, she's not. That's interesting. Mia! I could tempt her in here with some treats, but I'm not gonna do that. I've moved my mic as close as I can get it. I just have to remember to speak up. That's the big thing, honestly. I'm genuinely a quiet person. So I'm asked to speak up quite a lot in real life. Or like at work and stuff like that. 'Cause I forget, like, I sound very loud to myself when I'm speaking at what I consider normal. And then everyone tells me I'm, like, barely above a whisper, and I'm like, bruh, are you kidding me? I'm actually bass boosted a little bit in OBS. I've boosted with gain. I think I might have turned that off at one point. Let me see if I can turn that back on. Filters. Gain. Nope, it's on. It's on. I'll boost it a little bit more. I'm not even mumbling. I'm just quiet. I used to mumble. I very much did used to mumble. So yeah, definitely like fellow mumbler, but like I don't understand how I'm this quiet still. I feel like I'm almost yelling right now, and I'm not. I'm apparently not. Like, I can't get people's attention ever because they don't hear me. It's not even that they're ignoring me or anything. It's that if you're literally not looking at me, you won't even notice I'm talking, and I'm like, ah! Like, that's mildly embarrassing whenever it happens in public, but at the same time, it's just like, you know, it's whatever. Like, public is loud, it's fine, who cares? But the most embarrassing moment is when I was mid-speech at college, and the teacher just, like, I don't think he slammed on the desk, but he, like, made a loud noise, and he just said, "Speak up!" And I'm like, I thought I was speaking loud. Hi, Miss Nannabelle. I hear you snuffling around the corner. I can't tell if this buttonhole is going to be better or worse than the last three. My first one turned out great, and I was really excited, and then my next one was just, like, a little bit worse. I'm like, okay, that's alright. And then the next one was terrible, like, oh god. I just make everyone boost me to 200% in Discord. It's their problem. It's actually gotten better. So people used to have to balance their Discord audio around me because I would always be at 200% and still not be loud enough for them. But then I got my new mic and I started speaking up because I was on stream and people were telling me I was too quiet. My mic is actually directional, so I have to be actually talking into it correctly. Otherwise, I get super, super quiet. That's also a reason, like, sometimes I just have to reposition the mic. But I started talking louder. I talk much louder now than I used to, even though I still get very quiet sometimes. So now I think people usually have me around 120%. It is very mildly funny, though, being, like, the person everyone else gets, tuned to, essentially. Oh, somebody's pinging me on Discord. Why? Why would they dare ping me? Oh, okay, it's just Chloe. I'm trying to catch up on Final Fantasy 16 so I can continue watching Kamui play it. It's very good so far. Oh my god. So I'm not going to spoil anything, but I am going to talk about, like, that I do love it. I very much love the story. I don't like that they are kind of... So... The first Final Fantasy game I played was Final Fantasy X, which was still turn-based, and, like, you had this array of party members that you got to control during battles and whatnot, and I really, really enjoyed that. And I also really, really enjoyed, like, the colorfulness of Final Fantasy X, the world building, like, just what everything looked like. It felt like a fantasy location. And... Then I played Final Fantasy 13, and I still feel like you got a lot of that. But I didn't enjoy the combat so much. I know a lot of people complain about 13 being a story tunnel, essentially, in that, there was no open world aspect to it until very late in the game. All of the story portions were just a long tunnel to the end. There was, like, no mazes or anything like that, even. And that annoyed a lot of people, but, like, in my eyes, I played Final Fantasy X, and it was a similar experience. I mean, this was not an age of video games where we had a lot of open-world stuff, unless the game was, like, not story-based in the slightest. So... that part didn't bother me too much, but I understood people's complaints on that aspect. But I really enjoyed that, like, in both these games, you got a lot of that party aspect to it, and that's what I felt like was something pretty integral to the Final Fantasy formula. At least that's what it seemed like to me. From what I can tell of Final Fantasy VII, I guess maybe it hasn't always been, or maybe it has. I don't know. I would assume that it, like, you still had party members and stuff and whatnot. And then I didn't play Final Fantasy 15, but I watched other people play it. I'm not much of a console gamer. We simply had a PS2 at the time, and my stepmom had Final Fantasy X or something like that. I don't really remember exactly how we came about having it, and why I played it originally, but I was watching Final Fantasy 15, and I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's a good game. It looks beautiful, yada yada yada. But coming into it from both Final Fantasy X and 13, like, the thing that struck me the most about it was just how, like, dark it is. Like, there's not a lot of color. And it's because they're going for this hyper-realism, which, sure, I get it, pinnacle of games, if big companies can cash in on that because of how difficult it is to do, yada yada yada. But I don't know, that was one thing that really drew me away from it. Another thing that really drew me away from it was the combat. Not because it's real time, I just don't feel like... There was a lot of things I didn't like about 15. I'm one of those, like, I guess I'm one of those rare people who just didn't enjoy the, I didn't enjoy the party in it. I felt like it didn't feel as integral to the game to have your party members. I feel like, essentially, all you needed was Noctis, and Noctis had all of the abilities and all of the powers, and it's just like, well, why? Like, even in Final Fantasy X, where Yuna is your summoner, she is the person that you are taking across the world on a pilgrimage for her whole spiritual journey and whatnot. She's not the only person on the team that is a powerhouse. She's the only one that has summons, yeah, but that's because that's her class. And even then, like, she's not overloaded because of that. Same thing in Final Fantasy XIII. Everyone has their own summon in that game, which I think was actually a very brilliant idea. It makes making up your party matchups a little bit more interesting, in my opinion. Not to mention the whole idea of being able to multi-class all of your characters. Although I do agree that the build system in that game was also very tunnel-visioned. Because all of, like, if you wanted to make your character a synergist, they had exactly one path in the Crystallarium that you could use. And that was stupid. The grid system in the sphere grid in Final Fantasy X is amazing. And I did notice in 16, we have a very interesting build system in there. Obviously, I'm not personally playing the game, I'm just watching gameplay. And I usually watch cutscenes first and then go back and watch gameplay later, especially if I'm, like, watching somebody speedrun it or do special things. I'm not talking about the sequels to Final Fantasy XIII, I am talking about the original Final Fantasy XIII. I played part of 13 too, and dropped it before halfway through the game. And I never played Lightning's Return. And I don't want to talk about them. I'm also, like, I'm coming from the perspective of mainline Final Fantasy games, not sequels to individual titles, because of course they're gonna do funky things like that. I mean, just look at Final Fantasy X too. There was quite a lot of things happening there. I don't know how to feel about all of them. But yeah, like, I just felt like it's not because there were only 4 party members in 15 that I didn't like it. It was just like they gave Noctis this whole prophecy and power and all of this other protag bullshit, and it's just like, okay, I mean, I get it, but like also, can you make the other characters in the party like feel more meaningful than my boy band bodyguards? Like, it's not just necessarily like actual power of each party member, it's making them feel story relevant. They all felt like asides whenever they were story relevant. And they didn't feel like they were like they needed to be there specifically. And it feels like in the other games that I've played that all of the party members did need to be there. They were all important in some way to the story itself. I didn't enjoy Final Fantasy 13 2 just because, like, it just felt weird. Like, not even just from a gameplay perspective, but the story was weird. All of it was weird. It wasn't bad, it was just weird to me. And it weirded me out so much that I couldn't play it. Maybe I'll come back and play it or watch through it some other time. But just, like, the more I learned about it, the more I was just like, what? Huh? Huh? I don't understand what was happening in these people's brains. But you know what? I'm not the game developer here. But yeah, with 15, like, I just didn't like the way the summons were either. They felt weird. In the other games that I've played, like, they felt they just felt a lot more natural. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. It felt like a fucking fever dream. Like, at least when you were with your girl band in 10-2, like, it didn't feel like a fever dream. It just felt wacky. In a fun way. It was Yuna's, finally, she gets to go on a fucking vacay with her girl pals, and, like, oh shit, the world started to end again, even though she was working on other stuff. But you know what? At least she's on semi-vacay with her girl pals still. 13-2 was just like, I thought you were dead, mate. And who's this other motherfucker? Give me Vanille. Give me Fang. Hell, give me fucking... what's his name? Sauce? Giving him back. He was interesting, and they just cut him out entirely, and I'm like, bro, please, no. I want my dad... I want the dad back. He was cool. But yeah, no, just... There was a lot of, like, just little things that, like, kind of added up to me in 15 that just made me feel like the game, like, it felt weak in comparison. If it hadn't been a Final Fantasy game, I think I would have enjoyed it more. But because it has this, like, history of being a Final Fantasy game, it messes with, what you have for expectations for it. There's, like, a thread that is stuck here. But I'm trying to pin to the side with my stitches. I'm making sure the button that I want to use still fits through this. That's what that's all about. I have to go back to the other side. Yeah, man. Oh, Lord. Every time I go back and, like, I look at 13-2 lore, I'm just like, oh, what were you on? But 16, so I feel like it doesn't solve the problem of the solo protag issue that I feel like 15 had. It doesn't solve that entirely, but what it does do is it feels more natural to the game itself. because they've shifted entirely from turn-based combat to real-time combat, which I think is a mistake. I feel like they were really good at turn-based combat, and I kind of wish they stuck with it. But I understand that that's not the meta for game development anymore. So they have to, like, because they're such a big AAA company, they have to do stuff like this, which is dumb in my opinion, but I'm not the executives making these decisions. But they solved a lot of the issues that I had a great deal of problems with in 15, while still, like, showcasing the things that they have done in 15 that, like, were very cool, like the graphics were very beautiful, etc. The one thing they haven't solved, though, and I'm going to take issue with it, even though it does fit the theming of 16 and 15, is that it's still so fucking dark. There's no colors. There's no colors, and I'm sorry. I don't care how grim, dark, and edgy you want your game to be. If it's, like, literally 2 shades away from grayscale, it's... Put some color in there. Come on. And it shouldn't just be your magical effects. I simply think that games can be an exaggeration of the real world while also being unique and stylized, and it can be realistic and also stylized. I know, it's all just fucking, like, the state of game dev. So I think somebody that I follow on Tumblr who's, like, also into game dev as, like, a career slash what they studied, it's a combination of chasing the largest audience, but also the thing with AAA companies is that they have something that indie companies will never have. And that is an absurd amount of manpower and an absurd amount of budget that they can throw at a game. And that means they can do things like throw that budget at making the most hyper-realistic game possible. And that is something that sets them apart from indie games. It doesn't make them better from a quality or anything else standpoint. It's something they can do and indie game devs don't. So that's why they go for that and make it feel like that's the standard that everyone else has to live up to, is this hyper-realistic game. Which I think is bullshit. I personally really, really love stylized games. And there are absolutely stylized games that take a lot more effort and work into making it feel that way than hyperrealism. It's just, that's what they want to throw money at. Oh, for sure. But, like, an amazing example of this is Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. That's a stylized game, but it takes a lot of effort to have that style so cleanly done throughout the entire game, not just on the models, not just on the environment, but in the effects, the menus, the PNG art that you won't see very often, but you'll see in UI, and on textures and stuff like that. It's one of those things, like, you don't see it with AAA companies that often anymore, and it's so annoying. It's so annoying. Give me some good stylization. Like, oh, that's my alarm. Like, oh my god, what is it called? Hi-Fi Rush. That game is incredible from a stylization standpoint. It is gorgeous as a game, and it flows throughout the UI, throughout everything else, and it does it in such a nice, clean way, and it's just like, why can't this be the standard you guys aspire to? Because this is beautiful. Okay, I'm just gonna double check that the button is Gucci, and then we will go back to hat. Sorry, it's such a tiny button. Okay, it's looking good, looking good. Come on. Come on. Yeah, it doesn't have to be easy to get through. It just has to be enough, because it'll stretch a little bit over time. And that is ugly as fuck, but it's functional. I still have to do the buttons on the other side, but I have to like line those up correctly. But we're here for a wizard hat. So these should be dry around the edges. And I believe, if I remember correctly, the first thing I have to do is hem the edge of this and then immediately go flatten it. What's an example of a game that comes from them? Because I don't recognize the company name that you've mentioned. Also, fun tip I have learned from a Miss Bernadette Banner on YouTube. She's got a very nice sewing book for learning the basics of sewing and whatnot. Even when you've got like a long thing like this, don't take that much thread. It'll get tangled. It'll get annoying. Just take a little bit of thread, tying it off a bunch of times is a hell of a lot easier. I know this from experience. You can also get a better estimate of how much thread you'll actually need. Let me look up Arc System. Arc System. Three Kingdoms. Oh, it's a different one. Oh, I've heard of Guilty Gear. I don't think I've heard of any of these other ones. I'm not saying 3D anime is a bad style. I'm really enjoying this trend of seeing it more, because seeing how they use stuff like shaders and whatnot to make it feel actually anime and make it look really cool is very, very cool. I will always be a proponent of anything that's stylized like that, but I would like to see like more unique styles. So look at that, threaded first try. People who need tools to do that. It's my one talent. I can thread the needle every time perfectly. No, I understand why people need it. It's such a tiny little pinhole to thread. And the trick is to make sure your thread itself is not frayed up. Okay. And I think I'm supposed to take this a millimeter from the edge. It's supposed to be a very small stitch, but it's a back stitch. Which mine are horrendous, and I apologize in advance. Uh-oh. That's some thick fabric. I think it's from the fabric stuff. Come on. There we go. Am I gonna have to get the fucking wire stuff again? So if you're unfamiliar with stitches, a back stitch is a commonly used stitch because it's very secure. And what it is you go out a little distance. Actually, I should do this from the other side. Okay. Yeah. So you go out like about double what your stitch length is supposed to be. And with a running stitch, you would just continue along, just going back and forth. But with a back stitch, you go between the stitch that you just made and the one that you did previously, and you go in between those, and it makes for a much stronger stitch. To my understanding, at least. This is the only stitch other than a running stitch right now that I can do semi-decently. I'm actually glad that I've been taking the time to learn how to hand sew. I'd like to get a sewing machine at some point, because there's just things that you can't really do as well with hand sewing. In general, hand sewing takes significantly longer, of course, and while you still definitely need to know how to hand sew because you can't do everything on a machine, just because of how fabric might fold or whatnot, being able to do stuff like this really quickly would be helpful. But also, that elastic that I was talking about earlier, I can't hand sew it. The elastic itself is too small. I tried to pin it down in several different ways. Like, one of the recommended ways when you're hand sewing elastic like that is to pin it to your pants. I even tried that, and it didn't work. I have a second embroidery hook that I got because I want to do some more embroidery other than my current like practice project, and I tried to like pin it to that because I was like, maybe it's just like the angle or something like that. Couldn't get it to stay. Because the thing is, like, when you're sewing an elastic down, you have to stretch the elastic while you're sewing it, so that the elastic goes across the entire length of the fabric that you intended to be sewed on, and then when you let it go, it'll scrunch down. And it just it wouldn't do it. I couldn't hold it stretched and do a stitch at the same time, and I couldn't pin it down. And because it was such small elastic and I was stretching it so much, I couldn't even, like, use safety pins to hold it down. It literally opened up the safety pin with the amount of force from the stretch. Hi, Annie! So yeah, like, something like that is for any doll clothes. I can't sew elastics by hand. I have to get a sewing machine. I need to look into models, though, because I know they're designed for safety. I know this. I've used sewing machines before, but I was like 10 years old when I last used one, and I just did like a straight stitch on it. It was for a tiny quilt, because I had like stuffed animals at the time, and I wanted to make a tiny quilt for them with scraps. And I helped with that, with some of the long stitches on that. But that's the only time I've really used a sewing machine, and that was like over 10 years ago. And I know there's safety features on them, but I'm still terrified of getting my finger stabbed with a needle. Especially with the tiny things that I'll be working on, like... But, I know there's ones that you... At least I know with the ones with the pedal, if you just don't, like, push the pedal very hard, it'll go pretty slowly, and that seems reasonable to me. But, like, I want to have a feature to, like, lock the speed down, so, I can keep it to a slower speed in general. I mean, I'm hand sewing everything right now. I obviously can be patient. It's more about having neater stitches than this bullshit I'm doing right now, which is very bad. I don't wanna hurt myself. Or my cats, God forbid. My cats are not the smartest. Literally, I broke, so I had like this like little jar thing I was using for a pencil holder on my desk, and with all the sewing supplies on my desk right now, it accidentally got pushed off and it broke, of course, because the floor is tile, and oh my god, the moment it fucking broke, of course, the first thing Mia does is go up to it and start trying to sniff the pieces. And I'm like, oh my god, there's tiny bits of glass all over the floor right now, Mia. What the fuck is wrong with you? And I literally had to kick the cats out for like a day and a half while I tried to vacuum up the pieces slowly. Because I couldn't find them all, and I still stepped on a piece and cut my toe. It's all good though, it was a tiny cut. I pulled out the piece of glass very easily too. On my ranking of things to step on, I would say it is slightly above a Lego and definitely way below a tack. That's the worst still. Not like a thumbtack, that's higher up but not as high up. It was like the tack of like a furniture piece. I guess when it moved here, the foot of it came off, and it had like a sharp point to be stabbed underneath the leg of it to stay in the leg of it. And I guess it came off because I stepped on it by accident, didn't realize I had stepped on something, and continued walking around. I was like, huh, I guess that piece of cat litter I stepped on was really sharp because my foot hurts a little bit still. And then when I was going to bed at night, I realized there was blood all over my chair because I sit cross-legged and I'm like, what the fuck happened? Have I mentioned I have a high pain tolerance? I just don't notice things. Fucking fuck! What on earth? Is that thunder? Is that fucking thunder? Is that thunder? Me no likey. Put it away. I need to do research on sewing machines. All the people in my life who have had one, I no longer speak to, so I don't have any point of reference, really. I know there's like one major sewing machine brand that does like everything of sewing. Singer, I think it is? But I want to see my options. It's always good to check. It'd be nice though, because then I can do lots of things with the sewing machine. I've tried to do a couple wizard hats in my size, but the felt I was using was just like kids craft felt and it wasn't large enough. And it did some funky things to like the shape of it. So I need to get like actual like, I guess, person outfit crafting felt? I don't know what I need. I just need bigger pieces of felt. Essentially I stitched two pieces of felt together to use as my thing, and it wasn't good enough. There was like this huge bump in the middle and it's like, oh, beans. Cause with the doll's eyes, just having the two layers of fabric together actually does enough to hold it, to hold its shape. But for a big person-sized one, you need like something just a little bit stiffer in between, as sort of, is it interfacing? Is that what it's called? You just need something that's a little stiffer in between to hold the shape a bit better. But I don't currently have anything that can do that. Somebody's car just like shook the building when they turned it on. My lord. Somebody thinks they're a cool dude. At least it's not motorcycles. When I previously lived like in the middle of the city, like downtown, every time someone decided to be a cool dude at the stoplight right below me, it was just so annoying. All you would hear is this every time. And people got in accidents down there. Like, it's always terrifying. It's like, do you want to be the next person T-boned by a train, buddy? I've seen it happen. That's not fun. I like the quieter neighborhoods. My apartment was quiet except for my upstairs neighbor that I previously lived in. It's so quiet here. I cannot get over how quiet it is here. I need to do the lawn again. I'm not used to this. I had to hire somebody to knock down all the grass because it got too tall for me to deal with. But I need to mow the backyard. There's just not enough hours in the day. How do people do this? How do people adult? Sorry, how do people adult and also have hobbies? I don't understand how that works. It looked like a thing popped up in chat and then disappeared. Hello? Is something happening? Is YouTube deleting comments again? YouTube, are you doing a thing? I don't trust YouTube anymore. It doesn't tell me when people raid. It doesn't tell me when people do fun things. And then sometimes it just starts hiding comments and it doesn't tell me that unless I look at the YouTube page. And I'm like, bro, I can't have OBS, YouTube, and everything else at the same time. Please, have mercy. Truly. This phrase stuff works really well, though, by the way. Oh my gosh. I can understand why everyone is singing its praises. Am I bleeding? Yep, just a little bit. I poked myself. It happened. I only really have calluses on my thumbs. So... it hurts when I poke that finger. Whoopsie. I can do one more stitch with this. I can do 2 more stitches with this. I really wish YouTube would use normal emojis instead of whatever they have, because I only ever see the text of the emoji you're using, Philip, and I have to go over to the YouTube page to actually see what you used. Like, come on, YouTube. Everyone's using, like, the Unicode emojis these days. Come on. Oh, come on. I can finish this stitch the way I want to. I'd like to make it a little bit smaller, please. Nice. That's a little less than a fourth. Probably about a fifth. Probably a little bit more than a fifth. Somewhere between there. Yeah, mine's originally for Twitch, which is probably why it doesn't quite catch them correctly, but it catches like normal emojis too. I don't know of one that uses both, and I don't know how to add both to my current one. I also don't like Twitches, to be honest, because Twitch likes to turn, like, my normal emojis, like, when you're just doing a little smiley face, into their weird, fucked up little green alien man, and I'm just like, I didn't ask for that. Excuse you. I said, colon, parentheses. I did not say your little green alien boy. Get that shit out of here. Where did I put my needle? I stabbed it, okay. I keep doing that. There's a tool for threading needles. It's like a little diamond tiny wire, and I don't understand how you're supposed to use that to thread a needle. Like, just as a concept. My assumption is that, like, you'd put the needle through, or you would put the thread through that, and then you would stick it through the hole of the needle, but then, like, isn't that the same problem as original? I don't understand. But I see it all the time at, like, Michael's and Joann's and stuff. I'm just like, what the fuck is this? I also don't understand how to gather yet as well. I understand the concept of it. It's like you do a stitch that is kind of looser so that you can pull the thread through the fabric after you finish the stitch, and then it'll like scrunch up the fabric nicely. But every time I've attempted something to do that. It didn't work out correctly, and I'm like, bro, what am I doing wrong? Is this the wrong stitch? Like, it always just looks bad. But when I see people do it, like, it turns out so cool and pretty and amazing. I'm just like, I want to do that. I want pretty flouncy sleeves for my dolls. And if I can find, like, some nice fabrics for shirts, it would be really cool, actually, to sew my own shirt. Obviously, I have to get better at all this stuff, but once I do, it's pretty cool. These cottons aren't that bad, they're just a little rough, so I'd need some sort of lining. Okay, I think the chat is just reloading sometimes, and I keep seeing it out of the corner of my eye. The restream chat in OBS is just weird. The new kick? What's the new kick? YouTube does need more competition, as does Twitch. They need to stop trying to be TikTok. Everything needs to stop trying to be TikTok. Including TikTok itself. Kick. Oh, it's a new streaming platform? Huh. I'm not moving. I've moved enough times already. It's very Twitch-like. That doesn't bother me too much. There's a lot of things to say about Twitch's whatchamacallits, but it does work well as a streaming platform itself. I feel like YouTube just needs to, like, brush up the corners, and it'll figure out what it needs to do for streaming a bit better. But it doesn't need to be Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok at the same time. It can just be YouTube, but also we can stream here. Maybe I'm just the weird person who likes the 8-hour-long videos. Maybe that's my problem. I don't have the attention span for something like TikTok. My attention span is like the opposite of that. I have to have something that I can hook onto for long periods of time. I also don't like that how whenever you're watching like a short or a TikTok or whatever, like everyone always speaks at like 3 times speed, and I'm just like, please, for the love of God, I can't hear what you're saying. I cannot hear what you're saying. Yeah, truly. Like, I feel like the format of a short video in this form, I feel like that has merit. I feel like it was a good idea, and I'm glad that it's longer than what Vine had, because as funny as Vine was, and as hilarious as, or not hilarious, as much as it defined a format of, like, comedy through just only having 8 seconds to work with, or 7 seconds or whatever it was, I wasn't on Vine, like, it did something really good and really neat with that, but I don't know, there's something about TikTok, it's probably just the fucking algorithm bullshit and everything surrounding the algorithm and how it works on TikTok that's, like, eating people's brains on there, but it's doing something, like, irreparable to people, and I don't like it. Because I don't think the same thing really happened with Vine. I never got that feeling from all the stuff that I've seen of Vine. It probably doesn't help that I'm someone who likes to do long format things. Or at the very least, like, something you have to put a lot of effort into. Yeah, oh, no, absolutely. That's just the internet in general. That's how Twitter works, too. Because negativity and, well, propaganda pays for itself, essentially, because that's just advertisements, but also, negativity is so easy to breed into more negativity. People are more likely to react to something that is very negative than they are to react to something that's very positive, in general. Like, that's just a thing. That's human psyche. And Twitter feeds off that constantly. That's why it's such a cesspool all the time. And that's why putting someone in charge like Elon, who has completely destroyed the platform at this point because he has removed so much of the moderation and the tools that Twitter used to at least, like, somewhat moderate it, even though they were bullshit, absolute garbage even at their best. That's why it's just gotten even worse. At the same time, yeah, truly, like, I'm not sure how to word this, really. I'm not a very political person in that, it's not something I really focus on. I am definitely more liberal than anything else, purely even just by being LGBT and saying, hey, you know, I think people deserve rights, which is shouldn't have to be something that has to be said. But all of my beliefs, pretty strongly are left. I don't really understand a whole lot of, like, political theory and the way things work and how to fix it, essentially. I can't wrap my head around it. Purely by being such large businesses, they're always going to be promoting things that are more conservative in values, because conservative values, at least in America, very much align with businesses wanting to hold on to their money and get more money out of people, and continuing that cycle. That is something that just simply aligns with capitalism and all that and whatnot. Whereas people who are more left want to see money used to be spent on people to get them into better positions in life. And the thought process there, which is hard to really wrap my head around, but I kind of understand it, is that right-wing people tend to think that if you get yourself into a situation financially, whether it was yourself or your family in general, and you were born into that, it's up to you to work yourself out of that. Whereas left-wing people think everyone deserves a chance to better themselves. And there's a line that when you cross it, there's no coming back from it. And it affects everyone, it affects everyone around you. It doesn't just affect yourself. And that's why there's such a focus on creating a community. It's an interesting thing to delve into, but every time I look at right-wing things, it just can't click in my brain. It just confuses me more. Let's not get too political here, though. I'm not here to judge people. We all have our own walks in lives that reveals to us a version of the world that is always going to be unique from our own perspective. I've personally been, I wouldn't say blessed, but I've had the opportunity to see it from a very impoverished perspective, as well as a oh my god, I just really stabbed myself. It's fine, I just broke the top layer of skin. Sort of, I guess, upper middle class? I'm not really sure. I've seen both of those perspectives, though, and I think that's really where a lot of my core beliefs come from. Seeing how, once you get to a certain point, and it's not as low as you think it is. It really isn't, and it hasn't been for a long time. There's no easy way to work yourself out of that. And there's things that are beyond our means to fix or change about ourselves that will, under the current system, will always lock you out of opportunities to even try. Which I personally think is bullshit. And there's so much focus on certain career tracks that people see as prestigious and useful that they push their children, they push other children to go into, and they praise for being difficult and all this stuff, but at the same time they don't see the value, even though they see the benefits of having all these other careers that are incredibly useful and can also be very successful and also pay very well. It's a conundrum, and it's not one I really know how to solve the answer to. I'm most certainly more of a math and computer person than anything else. It's something that makes sense to me. If you gave me a problem to solve with a computer, I could probably, even if I can't write the code itself, I could probably think of a way that the code could be written to do so. And that's probably true for everyone that was, like, in college with me and whatnot. Because that's what you really study. You study how to think like a computer. You study how to talk like one, and then you study how to think like one. You've reminded me I need to stretch my legs and take a sip, and I will do that as soon as I finish this line of thread. My feet are falling asleep. I will shift them. Wakey wakey! No nummy pain today. Thank you very much. This one, I've only made one. This is the only one I've made. I think it took me a couple days to sew it, and then I primed it one day and then painted it the next. And then all the embellishments, that took like maybe 30 minutes. For this and that, and most of this was just beading this. This is one long piece of thread that I've just sewn across, and beaded as I went. I think, like, just what I was talking about there, like, I think that's part of why I struggled so much in the Civ games I've played, because it's something that is very different than what I was interested in learning, and now at this point, it's just like, I still don't understand it, to a degree that other people seem to do. Can I get this? I can get this. Come on. Nice. But yeah, this is only the second one I've fully completed. For my big one that I was working on, I got the felt parts done in one day. And then I got the outer edge of the brim done across 3 days. I'm a little bit faster at hand sewing now, though. If I had a sewing machine, all of this would take a day. Max. It would be super fast. These were also work days, though. Like, unless I was in a meeting or I needed something to fiddle with while I was thinking through a problem, I didn't have a chance to sew at all. You know what? That's fine. That's good enough. Indeed, indeed. That's why I haven't been too fussed about getting a sewing machine. Not just my fear of it, but also, like, forcing myself to practice hand sewing. It's a very useful skill. Look at that. We're getting a little bit neater. It's still getting a little lopsided at times, but that is okay. Previously, all of my stitches were twice this length, so that's already a delightful point to see to me patiently getting these stitches through correctly. It's a really soothing thing to do. Crafts in general tend to be very soothing for me, but when it comes to digital stuff, like, you can't hold it. And don't get me wrong, finishing a huge digital piece is still something that's incredibly gratifying for me. Every time I finish an animatic, I'm so proud of myself. Like, I get full of myself, essentially. And I try not to show it too much on stream or anything, because I do actually still get embarrassed every time I get a compliment. It means a lot to me. But even something that I've made poorly by hand, there's just something about it that when you can hold it in your hands makes it even more gratifying, and I can't explain why. I know it's another psychological human thing. It's probably some monkey or lizard brain thing. But it's always a little bit more gratifying. And I do want to do craft streams. It's just like I had such a small desk before. I had no room for it really. I've got a bigger desk now, and I think with my current layout, I could probably do more craft streams like this. Definitely more sewing streams. But we'll have to see. The only problem is like the quality of the camera, because I can't really do any drawings. Oh my god, yeah, anything like 3D. I could sit there and watch a 3D printer for hours. Holy shit. I was so sad. So I took a 3D printing class in college, and I was so sad because I couldn't just sit there and watch the 3D printer go. I had to go to classes and stuff. Side note, if it were not for the limitations of the size of my current housing and the size of room needed for 3D resin printer, I would totally fucking go for it. Oh my god. I looked at the prices the other day and I was like, oh no, that's within budget. But I don't have room for it. And I've learned also that for resin printing, obviously it's hazardous materials, so I'd have to be cognizant of that, but apparently it stinks. And I don't want to have that in one of my current rooms. Essentially, it would need a room to itself, almost. Maybe if I got a filament printer, but then, like, just the amount of, like, work you have to do with filament printing. Oh my god, you do? Oh, I am jealous. I am so jealous. Because, like, people have, like, full ball jointed doll, like, things you can print out and use, and I want to do them so bad. But alas, I simply have to pay somebody else to do it. Maybe if I get my own place one day, but that's very far off in the future, if it's even possible. I could put it in the garage, but I'm worried that the Texas heat will mess with it, is my only deal. I do have room in the garage. I'd have to look into the heat requirements. I don't know, my dad at one point had like a air conditioner thing that he like fit under the garage door, but I don't know if that would be enough. And there's literally no space left in the house itself. I have a lot of shit. If I cleared off the... There's a, like, console table thingy I have in the living room. If I cleared off that, there'd be space there, but the cats could get to it. And that is always something to consider because Mia is a menace. She's already obsessed with the paper printer in here. And I know she would go nuts to watch something like that. I have to stop her from jumping on the paper printer whenever she gets to it. Ooh. How small are we talking? And was it resin, by the way? That's the important part here. Ball jointed dolls are typically made out of resin or similar materials. I think it's resin? I don't remember what the other one is. Centimeters works too. Because, like, even being able to print things that I could use with silicone to make a mold to make into resin stuff, would be super, super useful too with a resin printer. My Cricut also is going to get more use because I can use it to cut vinyl and then press that onto fabric. Among other things. I need to actually set it up in here again. The curse of unpacking. I think I am going to do black on top, and I'm gonna decide to paint it something. What is that painting going to be? Who fucking knows? Definitely not me. Maybe some swirls. Or maybe I do it on bottom and then just paint the brim part. Hmm. Let me look that up real quick. So this is a filament printer? Yeah, that looks like a filament printer. Yes, holy fucking Annie, I was promised I wouldn't be in the spotlight anymore, and then what do? You fling me right back into the spotlight? How dare you? I cannot believe this. No, I am glad it's Frog's turn. I was very proud of my last roleplay moment, though, for being in the spotlight. I've spent so long trying to keep myself as angry of a person as I can be, trying to keep myself, like, on the surface at least, calm. But Nova as a character is supposed to be a very angry person, and I felt like I really finally encapsulated that of them in that moment. Depending on if the two warring animatics in my head end up beating the shit out of each other enough that I don't want to do either of them just yet, I might clip that moment and do that. I also want to everyone in Nova's head fighting for the controls. Very funny, also a moment. I want to make the frog cast Fireball. I need to make the frog cast a spell. I would say I don't need anything super fancy. Honestly, a filament printer might be fine. The only thing I'm concerned about is the smoothness of the prints. Do you, since you seem a little bit more versed in it, is it possible to sand down prints, or do something else to them to make them smooth? I feel like, from what I've seen, resin printing does tend to be a little bit smoother overall, and you definitely can sand that down, because I've seen people in the doll making community use resin printers. I've only personally used a filament printer before when I was at college, and it was like really rough around the edges, like all the time. Obviously I'm very much a beginner, but that's my only real concern, is just trying to figure out how to counteract that. Oh, hell yeah. Sanding is actually very soothing to me. I feel like I sound like an insane person sometimes when I talk about crafting things. Because I'll try something like a couple of times, like sanding something down or something like that, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is fantastic. And then like, I see every single other person who does it complain to hell and back about it. I'm like, what? Wait, people don't like this? Like, I feel like everyone in coding hates regex, and I'm just like, that's my favorite thing to do. I see. That would make sense, because, I don't know too much about the inner workings of how, resin printing works, but with filament, like, you're kind of stuck at the filament size and the nozzle size of the extruder, so getting thinner and thinner layers with resin would probably be a lot easier. I do know that resin printing, like, there's more steps to it. Like, after you print it, you have to cure it again sometimes, and then, like, you have to, like, do a wash on it or something. Or at least I've seen things where people have had to do that. Whereas with filament printing, you can print it and then it's good to go, essentially. Because it's just plastic heated. Mm-hmm. Um, I looked up one of the printers I saw recommended, for resin printing, and it doesn't look like cost would be an issue for me. It's more about space in my living arrangements, and my ability to keep hazardous materials away from like my cats and stuff. Oh, okay. I thought it was something like that. I didn't fully understand it because, like, you basically dunk it dunks the whole thing in like a vat of resin, and then it like cures it layer by layer. Yeah. God, that's so cool. A laser cutter is also something that would probably be more useful for me. If I could find, I mean, I could totally find uses for it, but, like, actually get into it and start using it. Yeah, okay, yeah, that you do have to wash it off and then cure it again. Or finish curing it. You have to give it a little bath, and then a little brush, and then a little sunlight, and it'll be wonderful and beautiful like a little flower. Do I hear a little cat? Do I hear a little sniffles of Miss Annabelle? I don't feel her. I don't see her. Annabelle? Annabelle? Hi, Mia. What are you doing? I don't see her. Annabelle, I hear you. He's being a little rascal. They're so funny. They're the most annoying cats in the world if they feel like they don't have enough of something like water or food or something like that. Or if it's my bedtime, like they'll just start yowling at me. Like, you think dogs are loud? they get to like the level of a small dog, and it's just like, what the hell? It's just 11 p.m. Leave me alone, you little rats. Really? Huh. I would have assumed that you could do multiple prints with filaments as well. You have to label it all correctly and finagle things. I mean, the plate has to be large enough, of course, for it all, but if you're doing small prints... Although I would assume with how extrusion works and how the filament printer works, there'd probably be some, like, construction lines or something between them. I'm gonna forget that I put the needle there in about 30 seconds. Oh, I see what you mean, yeah. Now I understand what you mean. Yeah, totally. I do think it's really funny whenever people pull out whatever they print on a resin printer, because you like pull it out of a basin of liquid every time. So it's just like, huh, seems a little weird. It's like you're pickling them. It does make me think about those like crystal growing kits. Where like you dunk string in a solution, and then you put like the two ends of it into two different solutions, and then crystals grow on it. Does kind of make me think of that. Actually, one of the doll makers that I started watching recently, they fucking dunked a Monster High doll into one of those solutions as like it was like a full-on science project. I'm like, bro, hello? That's amazing, but also holy shit. It was copper sulfate, I think it was. Blue crystals, blue liquid. They made an alien doll with it. It was great. If the Monster High, so I'm gonna do a Monster High repaint as practice before I do the ball jointed doll that I'm getting, because one of those is $30 and it's not the ball jointed doll. I just want to have some practice working in the layers that you have to for doing paints like this. Because it's scary. I want to try to record it. I make no promises. Because the way doll customization works is you have to do it in layers, and you can only do so much on each layer. Because a lot of the times you use stuff like watercolor pencils and pastels, and those go down really, really lightly, and you have to build up the color over time. So it takes forever. It's definitely not something I can really stream, but it is really, really cool. Ooh. Yeah, I want to make like D&D miniatures and stuff like that, and of course like other ball jointed dolls I can mess around with. Just silly little things. Ooh, nice. Yeah, I should have some coming maybe today, hopefully. Let me actually check Amazon if anything got delivered today. 'Cause it was supposed to. Let's see. Running late. Now arriving tomorrow. Running late. Thanks, Amazon. Ooh! What else did I need to see? Gmail. Cause my other thing is from a different site. It's not Etsy. So I have to go find that. And check the tracking on that. Am I logged in? Yeah, cool. Orders. Still processing. What does that mean? It was placed 4 days ago. I don't think I have anything shipping on Etsy at the moment. But I will double check. I think I just have the, what the fuck? I don't want that. Last thing I got was all the patterns. And the dice. Yeah, okay, cool. Ooh. That sounds pretty neat. Cause yeah, that's with the epoxy resin that I work with and the UV resin. It's not a strong smell, although I will admit I don't have a strong sense of smell. But it is definitely a smell. And my second bathroom at my apartment is where I would store anything that was curing, or any leftovers that I needed to pull out of the, like, silicone jar things. And, like, it didn't stink bad, but there was certainly an odor remaining there. I Febrezed the place. Mostly because I guess there just wasn't enough ventilation in there for the resin. I do need to practice making resin eyes, though. Because that's what doll eyes are typically made out of. They're like these little, half circle eyes that you put in there. Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm, like, worried about, like, having a room for it and whatnot. 'Cause hazardous materials. The amount of times I see people having to remind others that epoxy resin is not food safe. I mean, that makes sense, Annie. Assuming that our individual dungeons are the main point of Chapter 2, Nova's stuff definitely, like, Nova's problem doesn't feel resolved, essentially. And that felt like a good portion. So if we were to assume that all of our dungeons were at least 10%, that's 50% on its own. And that still wouldn't even cover half the chapter. Plus, we are not even done with Spark's whole getting kidnapped storyline. Yeah, that makes sense too. It's like construction plastic. But I'm talking about like epoxy resin pours. Like people will make like dishes and bowls and stuff, and like people have to be constantly reminded, you cannot put food on that. You cannot eat food off of that. It's not food safe. And even the stuff that is food safe is not food safe for a long period of time. And it's only food safe if it was mixed perfectly correctly, and it cured perfectly correctly, and there are no issues with it, and all of the pigments and mix-ins that you used are also food safe. People are wild. But then again, we have that whole section of TikTok where people mix together cleaning chemicals and then touch it with their bare hands because they're insane. Every time I see people working with epoxy resin and they don't have gloves on, I cry inside. They do it so often too, and I'm just like, no, no, your skin, you're not supposed to touch that. I don't care if you're being careful, I don't care if this is for you to put some fucking gloves on. We are in the final stitches. I get to flip this bullshit inside out, and then I get to press it again. Excuse me. Alrighty, here we go. The best part. Oh, that's sad. That's very sad. I know I'm amateur, but I'm also not very good. if the bar is as low as better than me, that's a low bar. That's in the ground. Oh, it's looking good. Those stitches look so good on the outside. And by that I mean they look invisible. I didn't feel like I was doing a very good job. I feel like my style of DMing worked for some people in the party, but it didn't work for other people. And that's fine. You really gotta find the party that works for you. But I was also telling a story with the wrong system. The other thing is, I'm not sure if the story I wanted to tell was a good fit for D&D at all, and if I can write a story that is a good fit for D&D. Because at the moment I'm thinking, solid no for both of those. I very much write games from the perspective of, I will either write this into a video game or something similar. I need to clip the edges. I can feel them not working. I don't want to adjust my DMing to tiny frogs. I liked the idea of the system. I don't like the idea of writing for the system, now that we've explored it a little bit. I would be a good player for Tiny Frogs. I am a terrible DM for it. Shit, I cut that a little too far. I think you're supposed to cut little V's. I don't trust myself to cut little V's. Hopefully this will be enough. I think Innie's on the eviler side. Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. I want to emphasize. I know we freaked out on you, Innie. You are not a bad DM. You're just... You do like putting us through the horrors. I do think it's fun, though. I wouldn't enjoy a game that was too easy. I'm not a power gamer like Rain, but I do, to an extent, like optimizing my build. Exactly. I am terrified every session. In a fun way. I was a little more terrified going into the last session, because you put the fear of God in us with, you do not get long rests. But you have alleviated that a little bit. Yeah, exactly. I think the big thing is just like we can only see so far as players. And obviously you don't want to let all of your cards show before it's time. I don't know about anyone else in the party. I do know I personally have extreme anxiety, and I can accidentally set off other people's anxiety by starting to freak out myself. That's on me to manage. That's really not for you to have to deal with. But I feel like that's partially what happened. You do. No, but like, honestly, I like your style of DMing. The other style of DMing I very much enjoyed, was just this dude who, like, his sessions were a fucking fever dream, and I wish I knew Pathfinder at the time so that I could actually fucking play the game, but it was the first time I had played any tabletop RPG ever, so I didn't know shit about what I was getting into, but whatever he was trying to do, it was incredibly hilarious every time. We had a player die twice in less than 30 seconds. I think it was like it was either the first or the second session. Because he was like a hunter or something. He had a pet dog or wolf or something like that. And we were fighting against this like rising jello sea that was acidic and would kill you instantly if you fell into it. We were like trying to climb through buildings and stuff to get away from it and find the source of it, so we could kill it. And this dude fucking flopped his jump for his character to jump through to another building, and so his character fell and died. He nat one or something like that, and he was just like, "Aw, shit, I don't have a backup. Can I play my wolf?" And the dude was like, "Yeah, sure, go for it." And then he flopped that one too, and it's just like, oh no. On one hand, probably should have given us more leniency with this fucking jump. On the other, it was really, really funny. Yeah. That was the only, like, harsh thing, though, was, like, you just had to make that jump. Everything else, like, wasn't going to murder us instantly. And, in general, like, we were relatively safe. It's just this guy had a really, really unlucky day. Everyone else made the jump. Okay, that should be enough. Right? Yeah. But, the other Pathfinder DM we had, he wasn't a bad DM. He did get into homebrew, like, a little bit. They weren't necessarily, like, he wasn't necessarily, like, strict on rules, and that it was only core Pathfinder stuff only. Like, he was trying to bring homebrew into it a little bit, but, it was very much stereotypical, like, medieval fantasy and whatnot. I believe this was the same session in which we just entirely or not session, but same campaign where we entirely fucking broke his plot by, whoring out my character as a magical craftsman, and I made like a bazillion portable holes and bags of holding to fund an army, essentially, or something like that. Something to that extent. It was stupid expensive, and he was trying to get us to, like, rob a bank or something, I think, and I was just like, hey, wait a second, how long does this take? How expensive is this to start? Guys, you cool doing this over a couple weeks? But it was just... It was flat. There was a, not necessarily a story, there was a direction for us to go to. But there just didn't feel like there was anything behind it. And I'm not looking for, like, meaning or anything like that. You can tell a good story without it having to have a meaning. But it was just, like... It didn't feel like there was anything there. We were just adventurers. And maybe it was just that we were early in the plot, but this was the dude who ran fucking 8-hour sessions, and I was in his sessions for at least a couple of months before I quit due to unrelated relevant. Yeah, substance! Exactly, yeah. If it had been, like, a session or two in, whatever, that's early session. You're establishing your characters, you're establishing connections between the characters, you're establishing the world. But by the third session, I would say, is where you would have to have some sort of inkling of something beyond that. Even better if you can start it at the beginning and make that the tie of how your characters come to be there. I do want the blue on the inside, actually. Black on the outside. Oh, I'm so indecisive. Sadness. Yeah, it makes sense. Oops, sorry, I bumped my mic. Also that's really cool. You should tell us a little bit about it if you want to, Philip. Annie's the DM that I've filled in for a couple of times with Tiny Frog Wizards, although I am probably, not even probably, I'm not going to continue for Tiny Frog Wizards at this point. I had more, I had enough to start a session 3, but I'm not very good at DMing that style of story. But yeah, that makes total sense. And I mean, I know I personally, like... I mean, you've seen it straight up. C's plot hook that Nova is absolutely supposed to be following right now. And then me immediately apologizing, going, I'm so sorry, Annie. Nova would not do that. I feel so bad every time. Oh my god, I just realized you gave me the ability to fear enemies as a bonus action. Oh no. Honestly, I don't think we even thought to look for them. Like, Pharasma we totally forgot about, as previously stated and reprimanded for. I don't know what the fuck was going on with Asthma there, and what Rain was supposed to do with her. I have not heard anything about what happened in Fight Club. I think they've taken the rule of don't talk about Fight Club to heart. And then I definitely ignored some stuff because Nova's stupid. Also because I was a little busy. I forgot. I spent like a week trying to flirt with Posey. I forgot and then I remembered. If I don't get a chance to follow up on that, I am going to lose my shit. Oh my god. Holy shit. What I was working on as like a mini campaign was, the party was cleanup crew for when big shot heroes or gods and goddesses and other things like on that level decided to do a fucky wucky and like throw a tantrum or something. Or like the aftermath of like the Shonen protagonist does a throwdown with a big bad, cleaning up like magic residue and stuff like that. We didn't get that far though. We were about to get into that more, but they had their onboarding session for the job as the first session. Oh my god. Pharasma's spy plot hook? She would have spied for us? Honestly, Nova wasn't even supposed to know Asuma existed at that point, so every time she came up when it was Rain's turn, I was just like, I pretend you do not exist. That's Rain's problem. Oh my god. You should put quotes around human. You've fully admitted to us she's not fully human. Hello? Hello, my darling. Oh, purr, purr, purr. Hold on a second, very important moment. Very important moment. Let me clear the space. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, sorry. Say hi! You still got some of that stuff in your hair. What is this? A little bit more of it. You big fluffy girl. Oh, come here. Oh, come here. Oh, you knocked something down. What did you knock down? Hi. Hi. It cuddled me. Yes. You're so silly. You're so funny. You're so silly. I'm gonna put you down. You're stable. You're stable. Don't you? Good girl. Good girl. Let me move my sleeve. That's in your way, isn't it? There you go. There you go. Now you got access to your basket again. What did I drop? Oh, it's my phone. Oh, hey, there's the other yarn. Wondering where that went. Secret Ongine. She has a fucking stalker shrine? What was on before? I think some thread fell or something. You mean had or hard? What's hard? Oh my god. Sorry, catching up on all these character descriptions. Also, man, rip on Gene, she should have known to have backups. Now here's a question. Don't answer this. Did Ongin know about the Stalker Shrine? You've given me some very tasty treats in the last session. But I'm very interested where those threads are gonna go. And I do appreciate you explaining the, parallel universe thing, because that eased a lot of my personal worries. In that, I knew it was still going to be a fun time and a fun story, but as I said, I need to be less stingy with my characters. I also need to finish fucking designing Nebula's outfits. She needs her Barbie doll wardrobe. I will not, I will not, I will not, oh my god. I will not, I will not. I am not the type of player that intentionally breaks economies. Money is a problem-solving tool, and that is all. make a money-motivated character at some point. None of my characters have been motivated by money. I guess Nova has to an extent of... But that was like pre-campaign of just like surviving. I'm not good at playing evil, so I can't go full frog, but... Oh, there are a lot of gourmet foods. Nova's gonna invest in Bytecoin, which will be the name of their future fancy, whatever that fruit was, making an orchard of that. Yeah, Hydrogia. No. I'm going to invest in making like a garden and like hiring people to culture them. Cultivate them, not culture. Wrong word. It would be a culture of them. And then not only will I have my own supply, but I should be able to get enough to sell them. This is all joking, do not worry. I don't think Nova has a strong enough concept of, like, being rich to do anything like that. So you're saying I need to study them? You're saying I need to visit these two locations and figure out what's different, and then invent that to be used somewhere elsewhere, and then patent that and keep it a treasured family secret that I only explain to my next in line as I whisper on my deathbed, to pass along the secret but also never reveal it to the full world, thus ensuring my hold. I'm pretty sure after I hit level 5, I'm going to go for, the swashbuckler route, actually, so I don't think I'll be investing too much into intelligence. I have enough dex, but I need more charisma. I think swashbuckler had something that relied on charisma, and then, any Ongine spells that I have rely on it as well. And 20 int is already bullshit numbers. I want to invest one more so I can get a +6 at least. We were told that? I don't think we were told that. I don't remember that. I have a shit memory though, so that might just be me. Souls of the Damned though. I wonder if Tulip is interested in being a business partner. Okay, yeah, that was totally just me forgetting. I wonder if it's just locate. Don't answer this. This is me going into scientist mode. I wonder if it's like specific to being in the location, akin to a ghost haunting an area, or if you can move the soil. Does it work as a nutrient as well? Does it decay over time? And the only reason that those locations can keep the upkeep of creating these plants because they are always enriched with more souls of the damned, or is it simply there's so much of it there in the area already that they can't run out, essentially? This also begs the question of places like battlefields or places of torture, would they have the same nutrients in the soil that comes from these souls of the damned? Or is it something specific like torment or a spell or ritual cast on the person dying that caused this? Much to think about. Yeah, don't answer that. I don't want an answer to that. Leave me to my Bitcoin musings in peace. Feel free to steal any of that you want, though. Oh, you do? Okay. I'm delighted. You've delighted me in knowing that there is an answer, actually. Because you said it was both the lake, celestial place, and the is the other place, what's the other place? Blah blah blah. Where did I put my scissors? Uh-oh. Oh, I see it. Demon Realm. Yeah, okay, I was remembering correctly. That's the interesting point. That it's both of them, and it's not just one of them. If I heard it said out loud, I would be able to pronounce it correctly. I apologize. I have poor memory for such things. I can thread the needle, but I can't tie a knot. I think I'm actually technically supposed to press that, but I didn't press it on that one, so I'm not gonna bother. I'm just gonna press this part. That I do need to do, though. Because now I get to flip this. Actually, before I do... and I may need more of the Pray Be Gone on here, so I won't get to finish this hat. Yeah. Something I had difficulty with when I was sewing these edges is that they didn't all line up correctly, and I want to make sure they do all line up this time. despite only powers he's so far. At some point, it simply is just one of your stories. Which edge is it? This one? I'm not gonna do it until after I sew this and check the fit of the two of them. Because I'm probably gonna have to cut the edge of this one as well. Oh man. I mean, like, metagame information, I will always act in the interest of what does Nova themselves actually know. That's how I play my character. I have a little compartment labeled things Nova actually learned about, and not things that I've learned about. Because I'm a whore for world building and I love hearing everything you absolutely can tell me. Spoilers on the other hand, totally understand. I don't need them. But at the same time, I feel like as we learn more about what the story is actually going to be with the Sparks of War thing and whatnot, it feels like everything's a spoiler. At this point, because everything that tells us about one of the factions, essentially, is going to tell us more about which one we'd actually pick. And anything that tells us about the world, in my eyes at least, I know not all of our characters are motivated in this way, will tell me about something that I would find worth protecting, or Nova would find worth protecting. And so on and so forth, and whatnot. I know of at least a couple factions I'm definitely not joining. But I'm not gonna tell you that. You can probably guess, but... we'll just have to see. Indeed, indeed. Actually, it's probably up to... probably up to 4 factions now. That, 2 of them they could possibly convince Nova. The other 2, probably not. Obviously, it's probably going to be more of a party thing, but... I do keep track of that. I don't write it down, but... I need to work on Nova's diary. That is a thing. That is a thing that I am saying that whenever they have a spare moment, they write in that. What are you doing, Miss Nannabelle? Oh yeah, that's another 10% of my analogy earlier with percentiles in the chapter. Like, Pharasma's a whole separate thing, and then there's Chloe, which is a whole separate thing, and then of course Seer, which is a whole other thing. And then there's the fucking Yam's little puppetries, which is a whole other thing. I would guess we've got 1/3 in Doctor Who's fucked up time machine, 1/3 of specific Seer bullshit, and maybe 1/3 of Yam bullshit for this chapter is like kind of the thing to know about. There are so many moving parts. Not so many that you can't keep track of them, but there are a lot of moving parts. I'm also not specifically referring to Spark's debt as the Seer-specific bullshit. That's like a percent. Single percent. Not that Spark isn't important, but there's a lot happening here. Yeah, he's good now. But even before that, it was just a reason to start talking to people in Bria, essentially. That's so funny, though. Like, we fucking wake up to gunpoint and a bag of money. Yeah, exactly. As funny as that would be, I don't think we want that. I'm fairly certain that would fuck up a lot of things. Sorry, I had a thought. I need to write that thought down. It's fine, we'll get her a robo body. Oh my god. Chloe's gonna be like, oh, what's her name? Shit. The sage and fucking Tears of the Kingdom, I can't remember her name. It starts with an M. God damn it. I keep wanting to call her Mifa, but that's not her name. No. No, we're here to help. We're here to help. We're totally not taking her hostage. Minoru, yeah. We're gonna Minoru her. Build her a construct body. Get out the super glue. Like, excuse you, we just found her. We didn't do whatever the hell was done to her. And we were kind enough to bring her back in one piece. Not even blackmailing you. Yet. It's fine, 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 it's fine. Nothing to see here. Philip, I cannot share this idea, by the way. Because I know for a fact, whenever Rain routinely shares ideas with Annie, she takes them and uses them against us. And while this particular idea is not one that I think would necessarily get used against us, it is a dangerous one. But those are always the most fun, aren't they? I'm not the one that has the soul, alright? That's up to you. Mine's chaotic neutral. I do what I need to for my survival, though I do care about people. And in my defense, holding Chloe, like, not necessarily hostage. I feel like it would be a situation of like, look, Chloe, we totally dig you, you're awesome. Sears being an asshole to us, we're not gonna do anything actually to you, but do you mind if we use you as leverage real fast? Like, in game, we're totally going to get you into your own body, and it's going to be better for you, and things are going to be totally cool. But Sear's an asshole. In my mind, that's how Nova would react to this if it was their say. Because yeah, Chloe was chill. She gave us information, she was very kind to us, and we want to be kind to her in return. Seer, however, has been an asshole. And were it not to murder me instantly, I would shank her in an instant. I am interested into the reasoning why. It was, Suina who has the seizures right now, right? Which, by the way, Nova definitely doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. They're like, what the hell is seizing? She's grabbing something? But from my perspective, it's very interesting that she is. It's just a little cut. It was a friendly stab. It was a greeting. I would like to play a stab-happy character, but I just don't know if I could do it in a way that would still be, like, not completely against having a party as well. Hey, she started it, alright? She's probably gonna end it too, but you know, at least I said something. About what are you doing? Ma'am, mademoiselle, I know it is 11 p.m. almost. That does not mean it's bedtime. Bless you. As you can see, my cat continues to be a menace. But she is my wonderful, wonderful fluffy menace. Indeed, I am in Central Time Zone. And you are no longer in. Sad. For some reason that's reminded me I have a thing to fill out for work at some point. Annabelle, what are you doing? No. That's my barrier from you. I will cuddle you after stream, oh my god. Do not make me get the spray bottle. It was so... What are you doing? Annabelle. I don't know what she's doing. It was so funny yesterday. I found one of the spray bottles that I fill with water to keep Mia in line because she does not like them. And I have sprayed her exactly once, and she has not been misbehaved since then. It's just water. It's there's nothing else to it. She's just a very well behaved cat. When she realizes what she's doing is not appropriate. She's not the smartest cat, but she does learn. Oh wow, really? Same! I am ready to not be Spotlight for a long time. I want to be side character, thank you. This one is nice because I don't have to turn it inside out. Holy hell, Philip! Okay, so this... should be fine. So what happens with this is I sew this to the edge here, and then this gets stuck in there and folded over. Okay, so I do need the remaining here, and I don't need to chop off any of that, so I can go ahead and add fray check to this. Thank the fucking Lord. Yeah, man. Hello? Hello? Do I have to poke it again? I'm not afraid to stab. There we go. This stuff is both surprisingly much easier to use than I expected and surprisingly strong. Hell yeah! Hell yeah! We can get the unlimited breadsticks at Fazoli's. And have a night out on the town, finally. Okay, I need to press this real fast. Excuse me. Press this, and then I will probably... Do I want to sew this right now? Here's the thing, if I sew that right now, then I have to paint around it, which wasn't actually that bad. Because I had to paint a little on this after I sewed on the lace. Although I painted most of it beforehand. I think I'll wait on the lace. I'll wait on that. Just in case I want to paint up to the edge, because as you can see, I painted up to the edge here. And I don't know exactly when I want to paint. Am I gonna do beading again? If I do beading again, I need to do it after the lace. I learned my lesson on that. It was so annoying to do it with the lace. I think for now I'm gonna end stream. And... because I have to wait 30 minutes for this again. Because of adding the additional freight track on it. But that was a good amount of progress for, what was it? 3.5 hours? That's not bad at all. That's a lot faster. The freight track helps a lot, just because I don't have to manage dealing with fraying edges. It's very annoying and it's very time consuming. Unless you guys want to see me sew buttons on this real fast. I actually probably need to redo the collar. There's this little fold here because... so this collar is supposed to be folded over like this on both sides, but I don't think they have the lengths correct for it. And it's really hard to judge the correct length to get it to line up correctly because there's supposed to be a little bit of space left on both sides. But yeah, I need to rip the seams out there and restitch that and fix that as well. But I wanted to get the buttons on so I could check the fit of the rest of the jacket before that. It is covered with fur. Fucking cats. Let's see. I want... That's not lined up right. This side's too short. Are they different lengths? Oh my god. I can't fully tell. I think I need to press this down too. Well, I'm gonna end stream. I'll figure this out. This is the farthest I've gotten on the tiny shirt, so we'll have to see. Thank you all for joining as I muddle my way through sewing. I hope you enjoyed. I am going to do some pressing, and then more sewing, and then more sewing. And then you'll never guess it. Animatic stuff. Good night.